Hi, my name is Lexi Benson and I'm a registered dietitian. I get to work with moms and babies every day trying to help them optimize their health and eating habits. That's why I'm so excited to be here talking with you guys. I want to go over the 5 changes you should make before you get pregnant. First of all, I applaud you for being way ahead of the game. About 45% of pregnancies in the US are unplanned, so about half the pregnancies in the US are unintentional. And here you are before you're even pregnant trying to optimize your health and the outcomes for your baby. You are incredible. You may also be somebody who's trying to have a baby and are planning and have been planning and maybe you aren't having the best of luck. These tips today can definitely help you as well. For a lot of these changes, I would recommend giving yourself at least 3 months, if not a year, of trying to implement them before you get pregnant. Tip number 1, be aware of your BMI. So what is a BMI? A BMI is your body mass index. It's a measure of your fat based on your height and your weight. It's not the optimal indicator of your body fat, but it's the easiest thing you can do, quickest right now, and it still is pretty indicative. It doesn't sometimes distinguish between body fat and muscle, so if you're a bodybuilder, you might have a pretty high BMI, which is really inaccurate because you have no body fat. But I'm going to assume that not a lot of watchers are bodybuilders. I'm going to put a link that you can go ahead and put in your height and weight and figure out your BMI. There's also going to be a link below. You can also just Google BMI calculator and it'll be the first thing that pops up on Google. So once you put in your height and weight, you'll get a number. And the number will fit into one of these categories or these ranges and tell you where you're at with your body fat. Don't be concerned. Just kind of some scary words: underweight, overweight, obese. Your BMI can help you understand what you should be doing now to have an even healthier pregnancy later. Having your BMI can also help you figure out how much weight you should be gaining when you're pregnant, but we can talk about that in another video. For those of you in the underweight category, so maybe under 18.5, just be aware you're at an increased risk for anemia, slowed growth for your baby, possible early delivery, and a low birth weight for your baby. I want to remind you, I said increased risk. Risk does not mean you will have a smaller baby, you will have anemia. You just have a slightly greater chance than someone with maybe a normal BMI. And again, you might be saying, well, my cousin has a normal BMI and they had all these problems happen. Or I've had 5 children and I've been at an underweight BMI and they've all been really healthy babies. I'm not saying if you're in a certain category, it's determining your outcome. I'm just saying as you move towards a healthy BMI range, it tends to better your outcomes. But don't go binging on cake. Wait until step 2 and I'll help you out with healthy ways to get in a normal BMI range. So let's say you're in the overweight or obese categories. Generally, the higher you go in those broad ranges, your risks might be even higher. If your BMI is too high, you have a higher risk of developing preeclampsia during pregnancy, a higher risk of developing gestational diabetes during pregnancy, you have a higher risk of delivering a larger than normal baby, and a higher risk of a C-section delivery. I'm not saying that you will have these outcomes, I'm just saying that your risks or your odds of having these things happen are a little higher, or sometimes pretty significantly higher than someone in a normal BMI range. A reminder, some people have a healthy or normal BMI and really aren't that healthy, and some people who have an overweight BMI or underweight BMI can be extremely healthy. Sometimes it has to do more with genetics. It isn't as straightforward as I wish it was, but improving your health won't hurt. Now that you know your BMI, we'll work on getting you closer to that normal BMI range. Also, with those women out there with fertility issues, examining your BMI and trying to get to a normal range can definitely be helpful. Step 2 is look at your diet. What are you eating? In my job, I work a lot with MyPlate, using MyPlate. So I'll show you a little diagram of the MyPlate. And a reminder, you should be trying to eat from all the food groups each day. And as you see on MyPlate, trying to make half your plate fruits and vegetables, which can be hard. But definitely, fruits and veggies are going to have more nutrients, less calories, help you have the nutrients that you and your baby needs. Something I think makes a big difference is trying to make your grains whole grains. Instead of white bread, try 100% whole wheat. If that's too far for you, do multigrain. If you eat a lot of rice, try to buy some brown rice. Switch out some of your pasta for some whole grain pasta. Over time, if you make little changes in your diet, you may come to find that you really like whole wheat bread, or you don't mind a little bit whole wheat pasta, or you're really good at making salads, or you normally cook this and you added more vegetables and it made it taste better. So looking for little ways each day to implement more fruits and vegetables, more whole grains. I'd also recommend trying to reduce your added sugar and added saturated fat. So that's something you can look at on food labels. Under the total fat, you'll see a subcategory called saturated fat, and that's where it's going to be telling you how much saturated fat is in the item. So 3.5 grams or 18% of your daily needs are going to be in one strip of bacon, so also pay attention to the serving size. In case you're eating 2 or 3 strips of bacon, you're going to be timesing this by 2 or 3. I don't want you to focus on the math, just focus on finding foods that have a smaller gram amount of saturated fat and a higher amount of other healthy fats like monounsaturated fat or polyunsaturated fat, which unfortunately often aren't listed under the total fats. But if you can see that there's 9 grams of fat and 3.5 of those grams are saturated, you know that there's also 5.5 grams that are the healthier monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats that are better for you. Really fatty cuts of meat, dark meats, high-fat dairy foods, tropical oils like coconut oil, and really processed foods tend to be higher in that saturated fat that you want to avoid or limit. Instead, look for more lean meat, such as chicken and fish, as well as lean beef. You can try to find or choose low-fat dairies or non-fat dairies, and then just avoiding fast food, fried food, processed food, stuff like that can help lower your saturated fat intake. Because not all fat is bad fat, but saturated fat isn't necessarily helping you. Say you drink soda every day, maybe cut back to once or twice a week. I'm talking small changes that will add up in the long term, understanding where you're at, what sacrifices that you can make that you can sustain. With more fruits and vegetables, you get more vitamins and minerals, and some of those are really important for pregnancy. Iron, like I talked about, if you may have a really low BMI and you might be more likely to be anemic, or maybe you have been in past pregnancies. So trying to eat more foods that are rich in iron. Animal meat is awesome, and then maybe even fortified cereals if that's where you need it, or beans, lentils, dark leafy greens like spinach, awesome sources of iron. Something else you need is folic acid. You're recommended to have 400 micrograms of folic acid each day. Having enough folic acid in your diet helps prevent birth defects that have to do with the brain and the spine, or neural tube defects. These type of birth defects happen in the first few weeks of pregnancy, and often before women even know they're pregnant. So being ahead of the game and consuming foods that are high in folic acid, such as these, as well as supplementing with a multivitamin or prenatal before you get pregnant. Something that I found out recently is that most cereals, breakfast cereals, have that recommendation for you. So start taking your prenatals or eating your breakfast cereal. Hopefully it's whole grain. Lots of prenatal vitamins have the folate and iron that you need. Making sure to check the label will help you ensure that you're getting the 400 micrograms of folic acid, and make sure that there's iron in the prenatal. Often prenatals, especially the chewy kind, won't have iron. So make sure to examine the label to make sure that there is iron there for you. If something stood out to you as a little change that you can make it. Change number 3. Look at your physical activity. How active are you? Do you work a full-time job where you're on your feet for 8 hours straight every day? Or do you work at a desk like me and you get up and stand a bit, but mostly you're sitting at a computer? Do something for me. Get out your phone. Most phones have a built-in pedometer. I know the iPhone does and their little health app, as well as most smartphones. You can at least download a pedometer app for free and start tracking how many steps am I taking in a day. People have found the more that you have a number and have a goal and something you can look at on a regular basis, the more driven you are to increase what your daily steps are, or at least give you reference of how active, how many times you're getting up and moving each day. Maybe you have a gym pass and you love going to the gym. All the power to you. Or you love to dance and move and can get into a Zumba class. Or do Zumba videos at home. Maybe you used to be a big runner and you just haven't been as much lately. Try to find the time to go run for half an hour a few times a week. Now, maybe you have 4 kids and you work and you just say, that's not really possible for me to add that into the day. You go to the grocery store, right? Take an extra lap or 2 before you check out and get your heart rate up. Park further away in the parking lot. If there's stairs, take the stairs. Try to make little changes. Look at your pedometer, see how many steps you're making, make a higher goal, things like that. Something I wanted to mention as well, generally it's safer to just continue how you're physically exercising than to increase your physical activity when you get pregnant. Decide now. Make the changes now that you want to have throughout your pregnancy and the patterns you want to have throughout your pregnancy. Change number 4. Go to a prenatal visit. Figure out if you have pre-existing health conditions, or if you already know you have them, figure out the best steps to take when you're trying to get pregnant and during pregnancy. I really recommend this step, especially if you have diabetes, especially if you have a history of high blood pressure, anything like that. Maybe you don't know and you haven't been to the doctor in a while. Make sure that everything's okay with your health now before you're trying to get pregnant. If you're taking any medications, it's helpful to visit with a doctor to help get his professional advice. Tip number 5, stop smoking and drinking. I mean smoking cigarettes, I mean vaping. A large majority of the moms I work with stop smoking when they find out they're pregnant or really cut back and do pretty well after they have their babies. But why wait until you know you're pregnant? Stop now. Stop for your future baby and stop for you. Smoking can lead to premature babies and low birth weight babies. And obviously, along with that, avoid any illegal drug use. If you're trying to get pregnant, stop drinking alcohol. Alcohol can cause lifelong brain damage in your baby. Thanks so much for watching my video today. If you have any other topics or things from today that you'd like me to go into more detail with, let me know in the comment section, and please like my video. Thanks.